السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us in the Quran al-Majid to be conscious of Him, to be to an extent fearful of Him. How much? As much as He deserves that you should be conscious of Him. Haqqa tuqatihi. And knowing, if we pay attention to where we came from and how we are surviving, what are we surviving on, it's not like going to the grocery store and buying the milk and saying that milk comes from the grocery store. If you just pay a little attention where the milk comes from, all that is, then we come to the conclusion that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is providing everything for us to sustain, and we came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So every moment of our life we should be conscious of Him as to what guidance He provided to us in the Quran al-Majid and how we should be following that guidance. Inshallah, today I'm going to talk about the elections over here. There are news all around. I think you cannot turn the TV on without seeing something about the elections. And so the elections are held, and every citizen is given an equal right to vote. And so as Muslims who are citizens of this country, we have a right to vote. But it's come to be known, I don't know how far it is true, I don't have any data to tell you, that Muslims are not really voting as much as they should. That the percentage of Muslims voting is considerably smaller than the percentage of other communities voting. And so we should know that if what do the politicians, people running for office, what do they expect? What can, of course, contributions for elections and so on and so forth, but the most important thing for them is the vote. And if you keep your vote to yourself and do not give to anybody, and then everybody comes to know that the Muslim community is really not a voting community, then what is the reason that any politicians would look into the needs of Muslims, uh, uh, the concerns that the Muslims have, whether they should accommodate in their agenda or not? So there may be several reasons why Muslims do not vote. So I'm going to go over some of those reasons and see how we can relate to the teachings of Islam. Okay? So one of the reasons that Muslims may not tend to vote is this is not an Islamic system. You know, there is alcohol which is permissible, anybody can go and eat. There is gambling permissible, everybody can go and gamble, and so on and so forth. It's a non-Islamic system. I'm just talking about few things. There are many other things that we might disagree with. And so why should we participate in this non-Islamic system? That could be one reason. And the other reason could be, we'll come to the other reason. First I want to go through this reason. What I want to do is look at the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he is our guide, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَفِي كَانَ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the best example in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam live in a non-Muslim society, non-Muslim system? All his life, up until 13 years, even 13 years after he received the Nubuwwah. So up until 53 years of his life, he lived under a non-Muslim system. So let's forget the first 40 years. He did not receive the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But from the age 40 onwards, he received the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he knew that the system that he is living in is not an Islamic system. A tribal system where each tribe will take care of its own people. If one people of a tribe is hurt by people from some other tribe, then the tribe of the person will go after the other tribe and seek revenge, killing one person and two persons instead of one person. And these fightings kept on going from generation after generation and so on. And this was the system. So did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam participate in this system? Of course, yes. He belonged to the tribe of Banu Hashim and Bani Abdul Muttalib. And Abu Talib, his uncle, was the head of the tribe. And Abu Talib provided protection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from anybody else who would come after to hurt him. And they had a lot of reasons to hurt him, because he was saying bad things to their statues, their guards. They were saying they're just stones. Why are you doing this and this? And they really would want to knock him out, stop him from preaching things against their guards. But Abu Talib, he was under the protection of Abu Talib, and they could not do anything. So the other people of the tribes went to Abu Talib and said that, look, your nephew is doing this and this. We love our gods, we worship our gods, and he's saying so many bad things and telling some things which are very alien to us. Why don't you tell them to stop? We are very much annoyed by him. And Abu Talib asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had a conversation with him. Oh, my nephew, I see that there are a lot of things going on. A lot of people are annoyed by what you are doing. And they are even offering you many things. They want to make you the king of the society. They will let you marry any woman of the society that you would like and so on. Why don't you take those things and stop doing what you're doing? And we know the answer, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh, my uncle, if they put the sun on my right hand and the moon on my left hand, even then I will not quit what I'm doing. Even the mission that I have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will continue. So Abu Talib said, okay, my nephew, you go on, keep on doing what you're doing, you are under my protection, nobody can touch you. So that's how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued, until then the situation got worse. because his influence was increasing and many people were accepting his message, and the tribe said, no, this cannot go on. So all of the other tribes, they could not do anything to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the other tribes got together and signed an agreement that all of the tribes will not deal at all with the tribe of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tribe of Banu Abdul Muttalib. They said, we will boycott them completely. And then they could not trade with each other, they could not buy anything, because people, any trade mission comes from abroad, from outside, or everybody else will buy things off, there will be nothing left for the tribe of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to buy anything. So Abu Talib decided that it's not able to survive in this thing. He went to a different valley, and for 2.5 years, they were starving, and they were eating leaves here and there, and so on and so forth. And some people who would have pity on them, they would steal some food, and in the dark of night they would come and give some food to people, and so on and so forth. It went on for 2.5 years. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that this was happening. He did not say to Abu Talib, no, remove my protection, why are you suffering? The whole tribe is suffering. He did not say that, I do not need your protection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there to protect me. Did he say that? No, he did not say that. He wanted to demonstrate through the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you should live in the system, take full advantage of the system. When you are in a position to establish your own system, then you can do it. But until you are in a different system, you must follow the system in order to get the protection, get the advantages the system offers. Do not indulge in bad things of the system. And now things got even worse when Abu Talib died. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out to Taif to seek some help, seek that the community over there might accept Islam, and he might find a refuge over there, and we know what happened. Then when he wanted to come back to Mecca, how could he come back? Abu Talib was not there to protect him. So he stayed outside of Mecca and sent delegations, his assistants, to one tribe, another tribe, a third tribe, asking them, can you provide me protection so I can go into the Mecca without getting hurt? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again did not say that I don't need protection from anybody else. The uncle was protecting before, now he was seeking protection from others, because this was a system. Actually, this was part of the system. If anybody would seek protection from another tribe, the other tribe would oblige them to say that, okay, you want a protection, we'll provide you the protection. So after he asked one tribe or second tribe, the third tribe finally agreed. I forget the name of the person who provided the protection. So he sent his two sons completely laced with the weapons, with the swords and so on and so forth, and announced that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is under our protection, nobody dare to do it. So this thing, we should know that this is the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What can we get from this life? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that, okay, you take advantage of the system from what system that you have. Take the good things of the system. Do not take bad things of the system. Now another concern Muslims might have is, who am I going to vote for? One is worse than the other. They are all bad. One person is doing this, the other person is doing this. I don't have any good choice to vote. Somebody will go after LGBTQ, provide all kinds of protections and so on. The other people will do anything. We know that. I do not want to go into those things. Will you find a perfect candidate to vote for? No, not at all. So what do you do in that case? In that case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided a guidance, and the people, scholars have taken this particular ayah to say that when you have a choice between two evils, then you choose the lesser of the two evils. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, all these things are prohibited for you. That the dead person, the dead animal, the blood, and the pork, and anything that is slaughtered on other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, all these things are forbidden. We all know that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنِ اسْتُرَّ غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. If you are desperately in need of food, if you do not have any food, and if you do not have anything other than the haram food, and you're going to die if you don't take the food, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's no harm for you to take the haram food. Only as much as you need. وَلَا غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ. That you should not say that, oh, it's so tasty, I'm glad that I'm getting an opportunity to taste this haram food. Not that. And not that, oh, I have the opportunity to eat now, I should eat a lot of this thing. No, not that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making it very clear that only as much as you need. Like, for example, you're allowed to vote, you can vote. But you can say, oh, I have voted, why don't I go buy a lottery ticket the other time? Maybe I'll get some lucky, I get some $1 million. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no. Only what is absolutely essential for you, you do it. Otherwise, if you do not have, you do not need to do it. So this guidance, these two guidance as to why we should vote, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam demonstrated that he sought the protection of the system, and how you should vote when you have facing two evils, the lesser of the two evils. So now, is there any other objection to voting? I don't think so. There is any other objection. So if we do not vote, while we have a right to vote, we are only hurting ourselves, because nobody would want to pay attention to what your agenda is. Nobody would want to pay attention to what your needs are. Nobody would pay attention to how to protect the community as a whole. So we have to take advantage of the system that we have, and of course, by taking advantage of it, by electing people to the offices who will say that, yeah, gambling, everybody knows gambling is not only for Muslims it's haram, but everybody knows that gambling hurts those who have nothing to, who cannot really afford to lose. It hurts the poor people, and they know that. But the politicians still promote gambling because that's an easy way of getting money for projects. So by electing candidates who will come closer to the Islamic system, we might even promote the Islamic systems, not saying that, oh, okay, we're establishing Islam over here. So there are so many advantages of voting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand these things and use the system in the best way possible for our benefit of our community. الحمد لله رب العالمين وقال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Dear brothers and sisters, there are a lot of discussion going on in the community as to how to vote and so on and so forth. I think each one of us, being a masjid and a khatib here, I'm not going to be able to provide you any recommendation, and I do not have any recommendation to give you. Really, it's up to all of us. There are so many different candidates, not just the top candidate, but other candidates. It is up to us, and on the north side where I live, what we are doing is we are even providing comparisons of candidates. the Congress people, two candidates running for Congress. We'll provide a comparison of those two candidates on the issues of importance to Muslims, and they can take guidance from there and vote. And in your area also, if same thing can be done, it will help you. All this so our vote should not be based upon emotions, because it said whatever we vote on now, we'll have to live with it for 4 years. That's what we need to know. That we need to understand that and evaluate. There are a lot of people have come up with different ways of evaluating different candidates. Please do that and use your best judgment to make the right decision, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring barakah to us in making the decision that we make. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. The brother also want to say that there are several processes involved in voting. First of all is the registration. So there are some cards here and flyers available. If you are not registered, you still have Illinois, a good state. It gives a lot of time to register. You can register up until the 20th of October if you're not already registered, and then you vote, early voting, and mail-in ballot. You can request mail-in ballot at home and do it. So a lot of conveniences provided. You take advantage of all those conveniences. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وجعلنا منهم، واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأكبر.
Please, right side, move to forward, shoulder to shoulder.
Gap between the shoulders. Okay, come closer, come to the middle of the row so other people can come in the front.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Before we rush out, we like to take about 5 minutes this time. Usually I only take about 2, but we're going to have the judge come and speak. But first I want to thank Dr. Muhammad Khassadeen for the khutbah he gave. And also Judge John Anderson is going to speak to us for a few minutes. He's going to say a few words. And you should take this to heart, whatever he says, good or bad. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is John Anderson. I'm a judge here in Will County, and I would like to spend just a couple minutes telling you a little bit about myself, but more about my experience with the Muslim community. I had kind of a turbulent childhood. I was a poor student, barely graduated from high school, and my parents lost their home to the bank, so I was homeless for a while. And I turned my life around when my uncle was murdered. But during that period of time, I didn't really know anything about the Muslim people. I went to high school in Lincoln Way High School in New Lenox, here in Will County. And to my knowledge, there were no Muslim kids. There were 2 black kids, I think maybe 2 Hispanic kids. I don't think there were any Jewish kids. And all I really knew, or thought I knew about Muslim people were what I saw in the movies. I was a big movie fan. And as I grew older, I learned more and more about the Muslim people. And I learned more and more about how the stereotypes that we see in the movies are destructive. When I was homeless, I lived on my friend's couch in a cockroach-infested apartment in Joliet and didn't really have any food to eat. And there was a Muslim family that lived next door. And one day, they brought me a bag of groceries. I didn't even know them. Somehow they knew who I was and why I was there. And I was indescribably touched. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten to know more and more people in the Muslim community. And what I've learned is that we are all really the same. We all want the same things. We want prosperity. We want good health. We want safety for our children. We don't want children in Plainfield, Illinois, murdered because of where they pray. And we want a ceasefire in Palestine. As I've gotten older, as I've said, I've gotten to know more and more Muslim people, including my neighbors. As an adult, I'm now 53, I finally realized that I'm an adult. When I moved into my neighborhood, I had, once again, Muslim neighbors. And the first day that my wife and I and our children lived in our house, they brought us a plate of cookies. And at Christmas time, they bring us Christmas gifts. And the more and more Muslim people I meet, the more I realize how kind they are. And I am so grateful that you are a member of our community. You are a beautiful piece of what makes up America. I am a judge in Will County. I'm running for a seat on the appellate court, the Court of Appeals. I'm running because we've never had a Will County judge on the appellate court. There are 56 judges on that court. None are from Will County, and I think we deserve some representation. So if you live in Will or DuPage counties, you'll see me on your ballot. I hope you will consider me. And when you leave, if it's okay, I'd like to just stand outside and give you some information about me. Just have some flyers here. And I have some signs if you'd like one. But I would just very much like to thank you for welcoming me here. And in fact, I've learned so much about the Muslim faith in the last several years. I would like to leave you with just a short, small quote from the Bible. The book of Matthew, I was a stranger here, and you welcomed me. So thank you for welcoming me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Judge, and appreciate you showing him your attention. That was very respectful. But don't run out and forget your lunch. As I always tell you, the proceeds from the lunches go to finance the operations of this masjid. And don't forget there's new Muslim class on Sunday at 10:30. And the young Muslims will have their yearly bonfire today for boys of ages 13 to 25. And the time has started for the early voting. And I do want to make a very important comment on voting because there's something close to my heart. I mean, many of you come here from other countries. You don't know the struggle it took for right now that you have the opportunity to vote. But many have been beaten, many have been jailed, and many of us have been killed to get the right to vote. And sometimes people say, it don't make no difference if you vote or not. And what I say to African Americans, that some of them have that attitude, I tell them, if it didn't matter about your voting, they wouldn't have tried so hard to stop you from voting. So I encourage you, go out and vote. If you don't vote the early voting, if you don't vote by mail, go to the ballot on November 5th. But vote, please vote, because that's where your power is. We can talk about that more later. And one last thing, just a heads up for many people. There's been a recall on 10 million pounds of ready-to-eat salads and meats and poultry products possibly contaminated with listeria. So you need to check any ready-to-eat meats and poultry that you have gotten. I think you got everything. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us in the Quran al-Majid, and usually we remind ourselves on Fridays of this commandment, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with some fear also included in it, that if you do anything wrong you might be punished. So be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how much? Haqqa tuqati, as much as He deserves that you should be conscious of Him. And knowing that we did not exist, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, brought us into being, and knowing that everything that we eat to sustain ourselves, breathe to sustain ourselves, comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not like we go to the grocery store and get milk and say that, okay, grocery store is the one that provides me milk. You go step back and see where the milk comes from. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described in the Quran al-Majid that these are the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He is providing protection for you, sustenance for you, that you do not have to leave the planet Earth. Everything that you need is right here in the planet Earth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided. So we need to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every moment of our life, because that's the life is provided by Him. I'm also going to talk to you today about elections and voting, because everybody is hearing about elections, hearing about commercials and so on and so forth, and some of you might have already gotten the ballots at home for voting. So the question is, how do Muslims vote or not? So the first question. And I don't know whether the data, I don't have any data base to say that, but general impression is that Muslims do not vote in as much percentage wise as the other communities do. So Muslims are a little bit reluctant to vote. I do not know why we are reluctant to vote, but we are reluctant to vote. And if we are reluctant to vote, then why would any candidate running for office care about what we need, what we think about, what we desire? All those things you do not vote. I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to get any opinions from you. So then why, so it is very essential if we're living in the system that we vote. Now the question is, some people may not vote because they feel that this is not an Islamic system. It's a system that permits alcohol consumption, it permits gambling, it permits many other things which are un-Islamic, and why do I want to be part of this system? Okay, and the other thing is the candidates, maybe there are two candidates running. One has this kind of evils, the other one has this kind of evils. Why would I vote for one evil or the other evil? Okay, so these are the two questions that we need to find guidance in the Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to see what do we do in this system. Is not voting and staying home is the right choice for Muslims or not? What would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have done? Right? That's what we always ask. What would Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? Did Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam live in a non-Muslim system? Even after receiving the Nubuwwah, he was 13 years in a non-Muslim tribal system. The tribal system, which had the protection of each member of the tribe, the entire tribe would stand up for them. If any person from other tribe hurts that person, the entire tribe will take revenge on them. Okay? And that's what there must be many other, but this was the important feature. There was no law enforcement or anything. The tribe will take care of the people. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam belonged to the tribe of Bani Abdul Muttalib. And so Abu Talib, who was the uncle and was the head of the tribe, was the person who was providing protection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as long as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was under the protection of Abu Talib, nobody else dared to physically hurt him. They might call him bad name. They will say you are a Majnoon, you are the magician, and so on and so forth. They said many things, but they could not physically hurt him because he was under the protection of Bani Abdul Muttalib. So then people, what they did was, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was gaining influence, people started to get annoyed that he is saying bad things to our gods, the statues that they had full of Kaaba, and he's saying bad things to our gods, and then he's still flourishing because other people are accepting his message. Not just him, but other people are also saying bad things about gods. So they went to Abu Talib and said that, look, this is getting out of hand. We cannot tolerate this thing. Him abusing our gods, and not only him, but now other people are also abusing. So we want you to stop him from doing this. So Abu Talib talked to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, oh my nephew, this is what people in the community are saying. Why are you making this so difficult for me that how can I keep answering these people? Why? And they are even saying that they'll make you a king. They will make you, help you get married to any woman in the society that you would like, and so on and so forth. So why don't you give up what you're doing and take what they are offering you? And you know the answer of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, they're offering these things, but even if they put the sun on my right hand and moon on my left hand, I will not give up my mission. This mission has been given to me by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll continue the mission. Knowing the dedication that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to his mission, Abu Talib said, okay, my nephew, you go ahead and keep doing what you want to do. You are under my protection. Nothing will happen to them. Until then all of the tribes got together and they said that each tribe cannot handle the one tribe by one tribe. All of the other tribes got together and said, sign an agreement that all of us will boycott the tribe of Bani Abdul Muttalib. That there will be no trading between the tribes, no marriages between the tribes, and so on and so forth. And it became so difficult for the tribe of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to live there, they had to take refuge in a nearby valley, and nobody would trade with them. If trade missions come from outside, all of the people will buy up things before the tribe of Abdul Muttalib can get anything. So they came down to starving for them, and so on. And so it continued not just for a month or 2 months or 3 months. It continued for 2.5 years. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was seeing his tribe suffer for 2.5 years and still did not say, "Oh my uncle, take my protection off. You all guys need to live happily, comfortably. Because of me, I don't want you all to suffer." Did he do that? No, he did not. Did he say that Allah is enough for me to protect me and I don't need protection for anybody? No, he did not do that. So all of these things, knowing that were happening and his tribe people were hurting, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam decided that he should stay in the protection of the system that offers in order for him to continue the mission that he had, that Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala provided. And it goes even further. After Abu Talib died, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's wife Khadija also died, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam felt very lonely and said, what can we do? So he went to Taif to see if he can talk to other people and gain some support from them so he can settle down over there and start mission from over there. And we know what happened to him in Taif. So he had to return to Mecca. How would he return? He didn't have any protection. Did he just say that, okay, I'm going to go, who will do anything for me? Allah is my protector? He didn't say that. He sent delegates, one of his assistants, to a tribe to ask them, can you offer protection to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam so he can go to Mecca? And it was a tribal system. It was one of the customs in there that if a person of another tribe seeks protection from a tribe, the tribe would offer the protection. It was part of the system. One tribe declined, another tribe declined, a third tribe led by Mutam bin Adi. He agreed. And he said that, okay, he had 2 sons, and he asked them to bear all the weapons and so on and so forth, and take Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to Kaaba and to announce everybody that he is now under our protection, nobody dare hurt him. And to that extent, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went and stayed in the system and take advantage of the system in order to get the protection that he needed in order to continue his mission. So, and we are here in a system, we say that, oh, okay, why should we participate in the system? It permits gambling, permits alcohol use, permits many other ills that we see. But if we are in the system, if we can take advantage of the system for our benefits, then we should do it, okay, as Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did. Now the other question is, like I said before, who do I vote for? One person does this evils, the other person does this evils. Which evil do I pick? And there, Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, there is an Islamic principle of choosing. When you have a choice between 2 evils, you choose lesser of the 2 evils. If you have to choose, you cannot insert some other person in the election process. If you have a choice between 2 people, then they choose the lesser of the 2 evils. And this the basis of this choosing of the lesser of the 2 evils comes from the Quran itself, as scholars have said. From Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala has said, إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةَ وَالدَّمَ وَلَحْمَ الْخِنْزِيرِ وَمَا أُهِلَّ بِهِ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala describing all things which are haram. Haram is dead meat, haram is blood, haram is pork, and haram is anything which has been slaughtered on other than Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala's name. All these things are haram, you cannot eat it. Then Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala says, فَمَنْ اضْطُرَّ غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ. it is okay for somebody who is desperate to eat because he does not have anything else to eat. The choice between eating haram or dying. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's okay for you to eat haram food instead of losing your life. Then he says, غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ, that you should not covet, you should not say, oh, how delicious food it is. I'm glad that I'm getting an opportunity to taste the haram food. And as long as I have the opportunity, I'm going to eat as much as I can. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already said, غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ, that you should not feel an attraction towards the haram things. You should not take them as much more than what you need. So if we can apply this to our system and say that, okay, I'm choosing to vote in this system. How about the system allows me to buy a lottery ticket? I might get $1 million. I'm part of the system now. Why can't I do that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already answered the question. Is your life dependent upon buying a lottery ticket or not? If not, then you don't. So these are the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. So the answer to the question why you should vote and how you should vote is answered based upon the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Quran itself. So now we know the advantages of voting, because if you vote, then people know that Muslim community is a community that votes, and Muslim community would like to vote for those people who are sympathetic to the needs of Muslim community and the values of that we promote and so on and so forth. And we also have an opportunity that maybe there are some candidates who do not like alcohol. Maybe they will say that alcohol causes a lot of hard things, accidents and deaths and so on and so forth, and somebody might want to put some restrictions on the consumption of alcohol. We want to promote those candidates. Somebody says that yes, lottery is the one that hurts the poor people. Why should the lottery be prevalent? Why should it be easy to establish lottery? So we can do those things. So these arguments tell us that staying home and not voting is really not an option for Muslims. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to do that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand the teachings of Islam and stay within the teachings of Islam and do our duty as Islam allows us to do, to participate in these things. الحمد لله رب العالمين وقال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Dear brothers, now that if you're convinced that voting and participating in the election is a thing to do, then there are several steps involved in order for you to be able to vote. State of Illinois is a very liberal state, offers so many conveniences in order to be able to vote. First thing is that you must be registered to vote. And the date of registration, last date for registration is still there. Before October 20th, you can register to vote. And even if you're not registered on October 20th, you go to your own precinct where your polling place, where you're voting, and take your IDs and all that on the spot registration and voting. That's also permissible in the state of Illinois. You can get the ballot at home. Request the ballot now. Within 2-3 days, you'll get a ballot at home. Take your own time filling it out, making sure that you're voting for the right candidates and so on and so forth. Vote it, and as long as you put it in the mail before November 5, that's taken care of. Early voting is available, so you don't have to wait in long lines on the November 5 the vote. All these, so no, and there are some flyers that are put outside in the table. All these things are listed in there. What are the facilities that are available to you in order to vote? And of course, it will not tell you who to vote for. That's a decision that you will have to make, and you will have to um, look at some other Muslim groups who are coming up with some opinions and so on and so forth, and use your own judgment. Use your own judgment from the masajid cannot offer you any recommendation to vote for this candidate or the other candidate. That's prohibited according to the laws of where we live, and so we will abide by those laws. But you have other sources from which you can find out to vote. But make a commitment that yes, if you are a citizen and over 18, not just you, your teenage children, your spouses, and so on and so forth, make sure all of them are registered to vote and all of them do get out the vote. Wouldn't it be nice if we increase our voting percentage to say something like 90%, and then we get the reputation, hey, Muslim community is the voting community. People should know what Muslims want, what Muslims need. عباد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وجعلنا منهم واخذل من قتل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. O Allah, Muslims around the world are facing many difficulties. They do not have shelter, they do not have food, they do not have security. O Allah, we seek your direct intervention in providing the things that they do not have. O Allah, you've given us here a comfortable life and resources. O Allah, guide us also to be helpful to our brothers and sisters as much as we can in order to provide what they do not have. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأكبر. I led the salat in the first times.
Make sure your heels are on the line. Please turn off your cell phone.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أقيموا صفوفكم فإن تسوية الصفوف من تمام الصلاة. الله أكبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
وجاهدوا في الله حق جهاده هو اجتباكم وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج ملة أبيكم إبراهيم هو سماكم المسلمين من قبل وفي هذا ليكون الرسول شهيدا عليكم وتكونوا شهداء على الناس فأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة واعتصموا بالله هو مولاكم فنعم المولى ونعم النصير. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو استغفر الله. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام.
Assalamu alaikum. Usually ask for a couple minutes, but this time we need about 5 minutes because we're going to have Judge John Anderson speak to you for a few minutes, and I would encourage you to listen to what he says and take it to heart, whether you think it's good or bad.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is John Anderson. I am a judge in Will County. I wanted to introduce myself to you because I'm running for the appellate court, but also I would like to tell you a little bit about my experience with the Muslim people and what I've learned as I became an adult. I grew up in New Lenox in Will County, went to Lincoln Way High School. There were no Muslim kids in my school. There were no Jewish kids. There were no black kids. I'm sorry, there were 1 or 2 black kids, 1 or 2 Hispanic kids. And all I really knew or thought I knew about Muslim people was what I saw in the movies. And I've come to learn that there are a lot of stereotypes in movies that are destructive. I was a poor student, and my parents lost their home to the bank in a foreclosure lawsuit, and I was homeless for a while. I lived on my friend's couch in a cockroach-infested apartment in Joliet, and there was a Muslim family that lived nearby, and one day they brought me a bag of groceries. I don't know how they knew that I was living on my friend's couch and had no money, but their kindness was really powerful to me. And as I got older, I made more and more Muslim friends. Right now, there's a Muslim family that lives around the corner from me. The day that we moved in to our house, they greeted us with cookies. And they bring us Christmas gifts, and they are lovely people. So the more and more I've grown and learned about the Muslim people, the more I've learned that we are all very much the same. We all want prosperity. We all want safety for our families. We don't want children harmed in Plainfield, Illinois because of where they pray. And we want a ceasefire in Palestine. You're going to see me on your ballot on November 5th. If you live in Will or DuPage County, I'm running for the appellate court. Will County has never had a judge on the appellate court. There are 56 judges on that court. Half of them are from Chicago. None are from Will County. I'm running because I think we deserve some representation. But I really mainly just want to tell you how grateful I am that you are a beautiful piece of what is America. You have made me a better person. You've made me a better judge. And I'm very grateful that I've gotten to know so many of you, and I just wanted you to get to know me. I see up there the sign that says your vote matters. I'm going to tell you, in 2010, I ran for circuit judge, and I won. I won by 336 votes out of 35,000. So please don't think that your vote doesn't count. In fact, if the people in this room now and at the prior prayer service today, that number of people would have flipped my election. So your vote does count. One other thing I wanted to share with you that I actually find really troubling about the Muslim community. A friend of mine invited me to their mosque in Frankfurt. They had a dinner, and it was a lovely dinner, wonderful people, and it was mostly a social event, but they had a business presentation talking about their budget for the year. And I don't remember the exact numbers. I'm going to make them up a little bit. They were going to spend $200 a month on electricity, $200 a month on light, $200 a month on water, and $2,000 a month on security. And I cannot tell you how deeply that troubles me. It has never occurred to me that you would have to have all these cameras and that you'd have to have security when you go to pray. It seems to me that a mosque's money should be spent spreading the word and work of Allah and not on security. So this saddens me. But I do think that the more we get to all know one another, I've been to many interfaith breakfasts and things like that. Sulfi's been at some of them. My friend Muhammad there. The more and more we get to learn about one another, the more clear it is to me that our commonalities far outweigh our differences. And I just, again, wanted to say thank you for being a beautiful part of our community. I'm going to close by just sharing a quote from the Bible. I was raised Catholic. And there's a quote in the Bible that says, it's in the book of Matthew, it says, "I was a stranger here, and you welcomed me." So thank you very much for welcoming me here today. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. If it's okay, I'd like to just meet you outside and give you a flyer with some information about me, if that's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. So, dear community members, John is a good friend of our community. And like he said, he'll be around. Please introduce yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to ask him. Hand it over to Brother Amin for some announcements.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Now I get my 2 minutes. Okay, first I want to thank Dr. Muhammad Khasruddin for the khutbah. Remind you to get your lunch. As I always tell you, the proceeds from the lunch go to help finance the operations of this masjid. New Muslim class, Sunday, 10:30. Young Muslims were having their bonfire today, this evening, for boys 13 to 25. Lest I forget before people around. Community Day is Sunday. It's be in honor of the memory of Wadeen al-Fayami. It's Sunday at 2 o'clock, 2 to 4. It's going to be in front of the village hall. We need to make our presence felt there. We need to make our presence felt there. Because if we don't, people feel that we don't care. In the same way, we need to vote. Some of you have, as he said, got your ballots to vote early. If you don't vote early, you can always, if you don't vote by mail, you can always vote early. And if you don't do one of those two, make sure you go on November 5th. And just to re-emphasize how important your vote is, your vote is very important because I can tell you from my life's experience, people have been beaten, people have been put in jail, and people have been killed to get the right to vote for minorities. So you, as a minority, just like we were when we was fighting for it, you have the right to vote. Remember that the value of it is blood. People have paid blood for you to have a right to vote. Assalamu alaikum.